welcome to Kel Knits. My name is Kelly and I am an Australian knitter currently living in my Sydney Airbnb whilst we look for a new home. As such, I would like to acknowledge the Cammeraygal people who are the traditional owners of the land where I am today, and I would like to pay my respect to their elders, both present, past, future and emerging. I thought I would do a slightly different video today. I mentioned in one of my podcasts how much I love one skein shawl projects, and lots of people commented and shared with me what their favorite patterns are, and I've obviously been on the hunt for them as well. And as I was putting them all together, I was sorting out which ones were my favorites, which are the ones I would like to knit perhaps in the near future, and I thought it would be fun to film a short video and share those patterns with you. I've created, if you use Ravelry, I've created a bundle with not just the patterns I'm going to talk about today, but all of the ones that I found. So I will make sure I link that below, and also please comment if I don't mention your favorite shawl. Let me know what it is and I will add it to that bundle as well, so that it's a bit of an ongoing resource that can be used. Why do I love one skein shawls? They're definitely having a moment for me. At the moment I've just finished knitting one, which is the lightweight hipster shawl by Locatelli, and I talked about that in my last podcast episode. And I've nearly finished my second, which is another Locatelli pattern, which is the one, the lone skein shawl. And the lightweight hipster, I believe, is getting a lot of wear. And I can't wait till the other one's finished so that I can just put them on rotation. And I think I'll just be wearing one every day at the moment. I think they're really great patterns if you have that beautiful one special skein of yarn. I think we've all got it that just doesn't work in a project, and we want to find something that really just celebrates that yarn. Sometimes hand-dyed yarn can be, well, not sometimes, it really is quite expensive, and to use hand-dyed yarn in a full garment, a sweater quantity, can be really expensive. So having a project where you only need to have one skein of that yarn is just, I think, for me, perfect, and great for picking up when you're traveling, which I've done a little bit of too. I've got a few special skeins from the trips that we've had recently, and I can't wait to kind of work with them. I think it's also great to kind of jazz up an outfit. I think it styles really nicely, and works when you're going to work. If you have to dress in a more corporate outfit, it kind of lifts the outfit a little bit, but it also looks great with jeans and casual and a jacket. And I think I've always liked adding a little bit of color to my outfits with a shawl or a scarf, and I think it works really well. The other reason why I like these projects is also, if you've watched my other episodes, you know that I've just moved with my family from Germany back to Australia. And don't get me wrong, winters in Sydney can still get really, really cold. But a lot of the year, having a really thick, heavy shawl, it's just going to be too warm. But I think this time of year now, in the spring, even cooler nights in summer, you want just something around your neck, but nothing too heavy, and a lightweight, kind of airy shawl just fits the bill perfectly. So there are also projects that I know that I will get plenty of wear out of. So that's why I love them so much. So let's get on and go through the patterns. Unless I say otherwise, all of the ones that I've listed here are with fingering weight, because I think that just makes the most sense. Yes, I'm sure you could do a DK one skein shawl, but it's probably going to be a bit small. So I have just focused on fingering. I think actually, I think she's called Fibrechats, has a great podcast, and she has a podcast episode, which I'll link below, where she talks about all different projects in different weights of yarns using just one skein, and not just shawls and things. So I'll link that below if you're looking for some other ideas as well, but mostly I'm talking about fingering weight here. Okay, so the first pattern that I have here, because I've mentioned the two Locatelli shawls, that one that I finished knitting, one that I'm almost finished now, and she has quite a lot of Skein shawls, which is really great. And the next one that I would like to make of hers is called the Venezia shawl, and it's a beautiful diamond shape with kind of lace on the edging, and I just think it looks really delicate and really lovely. And it's also a reversible lace pattern, so I think I've had this one actually on my list for quite a while, so it probably won't be the very next thing I knit, considering I've just done 2 of her shawls, but it's definitely one that I would like to do in the not too distant future. Next up is another one that has been on my list to knit for a really long time, and that is the Spindrift shawl by Helen Stewart from Curious Handmade. I've knit a couple of her patterns before, and I really, really enjoy the style and the way that she writes her patterns. And I think that also makes it a really perfect, beginner-friendly pattern, shawl pattern. And it's a lovely crescent shape, and then it's got the eyelet edging down along the bottom, which makes it pretty straightforward, fairly, for a more experienced knitter, a fairly mindless knit as well. And even better, this is, I think, if you sign up for a workshop with instructions, then you get the pattern for free. And I think when I say it's a workshop, I'm pretty sure from memory that it's just, she sends you an email every week with some more steps about how to go through the process of knitting the shawl, sorry, again, which makes it a really beginner accessible pattern as well. And this one I can see on here is, she says that it was inspired by the expansive Pacific Ocean, and I found it really fascinating when putting together this list how many were inspired by the ocean or water or harbors and things like that. And if you watched my last episode, you will have seen that I've been spending quite a bit of time at the beach now that we've been back, and that just also really connected with me, and now I'm daydreaming about wearing these shawls, on long walks down the beach, and just perfect. Okay, the next up is one that was not on my radar, but a lot of people recommended this pattern to me, and it's the Be Simple Variation shawl by Carolyn Glaze-Todrank, and it is an asymmetrical triangular shawl. And I actually think there are instructions, I'm just checking in the notes here, instructions that you could do this in different weights of yarn, but I think it would look perfect in a fingering weight yarn. And it's just got some really sweet eyelets throughout the pattern, again making it quite a little mindless once you get into the rhythm of it, and pretty straightforward to put together. And it just, but you know, looks really effective and looks great. So the Be Simple Variations. The next one is called the Dream Ridges Shawlette by Kelene Kinnersly. And when I saw this pattern, I think I fell a little bit in love. It just looks, it might be the photos too, but it just looks really cozy and squishy and adorable. It's funny how something as basic as just adding those little pearl ridges in, or however it's done in the pattern, just adds that beautiful texture and just makes it look so luxurious and beautiful. I think it would be nice. This one looks maybe slightly warmer because it's than the others. I don't know, again, it might just be the pictures and how I'm looking at it, but I have a particular skein of yarn at home that I just think would go beautifully with this shawl, and it has a little bit of cashmere in it, so it's going to give that really soft, warm, cozy feel. So I think it looks really great. It's a sideways triangle scarf, and it has the decorative eyelet edging along the bottom as well. So that one I would definitely like to knit in the near future. Next one is the Auspice by Mutch, and it just looks really, where the other one looked kind of warm and cozy, this one looks really light and airy and gorgeous. And I love how long it is, again, because it's almost verging into scarf territory. And I think once you get to those kind of a long shawl, you know, what's the definition? Maybe there is a definition, but I don't know what it is. But I think it looks really great to just wrap around your neck, because it's going to be so so long and lovely. And she's called it a shawlette, a crescent shaped shawlette with mesh detail, light and airy, perfect for the warmer weather, and I would totally agree. Okay, my next pattern I have here is the Saltwater and Sea Stars. Again, more of these ocean water themes by Michelle Krause. And doesn't that lace look spectacular? If you've watched my other podcasts, you will know that I love a little bit of lace, and this is just divine, I think. So this one maybe is a little bit more complicated to knit, although not necessarily, depending on the pattern, but it's definitely worth it for the amazing outcome that it creates. It just looks stunning. The next one I have is another lace, but this time it's an all over lace pattern, and it's the Windcatcher by Amy van der Laar, and it looks really great. I mean, again, it's going to, because it's all lace, it's going to make it extra light and airy and soft and beautiful. And this one was inspired by the harbour in her home in Wellington, New Zealand. And it's an asymmetrical triangular shape, and I'm sure that, you know, I mentioned with the last one it might be a little bit more complicated, but usually with these motifs, once you get the repeats, it's just the same thing again and again, and it can actually become quite mindless as well, and such a really outstanding effect that it makes. The next pattern I have is the Artesian by Romi Hill, and it's a really interesting design. I think it's a real statement piece. I've included this one because I'm absolutely fascinated by it. I think it looks really incredible. I'm not 100% sure if I will knit it or not because I can't totally see myself wearing it, but then it could be a really good gift knit for the right person as well, because it is such a statement piece. Inspired by subterranean waterways. It's a triangular shawl with asymmetrical sections of lace spilling over the shawl's edge, and I think it looks really wow. And then the last one that I have is technically called a scarf, but I'm still including it because I think it kind of works. And it's a free pattern from Morris & Sons called the Pico Edge scarf. And I think you just need to sign up to their newsletter or something to get the pattern, or maybe you can even just, I don't know, maybe you can just download it directly from their website. But it just looks really mindless, straightforward, quite basic, and that beautiful little Pico edge all the way around to make it a really lovely scarf. Those are all the patterns, but I have a couple of extra that I might mention that don't really fit the criteria. But in my thinking about these smaller, quicker shawlette projects, I can't resist. The first one is the Knit Pearl Girl just released the Pippin scarf set, and it actually, you get two patterns, and she's designed it to be able to use exactly two skeins of the Carter's Cashmere brush light. So I guess they're going to be beautiful and soft with that cashmere, but you can get two patterns with two skeins. Perfect. Because I did a test for her just recently, it means doing the test as compensation, she offers 3 of her patterns, and so I chose this as one of the patterns because I would really like to make this. I think it looks really sweet. I'm not yet sure how much wear I will get out of it, that kind of kerchief kind of style, but I might give it a go. Except I'm thinking of making another very similar pattern first, one that has been making the rounds on Instagram, if anyone's been on Instagram, and that is the Sophie Scarf by Petite Knit. It's just must be, I think so many people are knitting this at the moment. I think it's everywhere I turn. And it looks like a really kind of straightforward, mindless knit that's going to knit up really, really quickly. What does it say? It's knit back and forth in one piece from tip to tip in garter stitch with a built-in I-cord edges. So yeah, that's going to knit really quickly. I have next week, I have a flight coming up. I'm going to go visit my brother who lives in another state, and I don't want to take lots of things with me, but I thought this could be a good project that will be really mindless and knit up quickly that I can take with me and work on the plane and things like that. So we'll see if I do that, but that's my current plan. So those are all of my one skein shawls that I would like to knit. Of course I won't knit all of them, although maybe I will, who knows. But I think they just look magnificent. As I mentioned before, I have created a bundle in Ravelry, and I will link that below. So if you want to have a look at some of the other patterns as well, there are so many beautiful ones out there. If you don't use Ravelry, let me know, and I'll see how I can get these patterns to you otherwise. Also, please let me know what's your favorite one skein shawl. I'd love to hear, and if it's not on my list already, I'm going to add it in because much as I like to plan out the different things that I knit, I change my mind on a whim as well. I hope wherever you are today, you're having a magnificent time, and thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, of course, do the usual things and like and subscribe, and I will see you next time for our usual podcast episode. Okay, bye.